Good evening. This is Bronwyn Lucas, and tonight is Thursday, and we're here for Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm your host, Bronwyn Lucas, and my guest is having some technical difficulties, so I'm not quite sure what happened and if they're going to be worked out. But you know what? We're here, and after we do some breathing, we'll see what happens. We're still waiting, and if you see me look down, I'm going to check the phone and see if anything happened. Not quite sure what's going on, but there's some technical things, and we can't beat the technicalities of technical issues. So, we always start with some deep breaths. So let's do it. And tonight we're going to do something called box breathing. It's a little different. And when we do box breathing, you're going to breathe in to the count of 4, hold it for the count of 4, and then breathe out for the count of 4. So let's practice that breathing before we get started tonight. We'll do 4 deep box breathing breaths. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Just those deep cleansing breaths to help us get started. Well, we had a show planned tonight, and as I said, there were some technical difficulties going on, and I'm just checking. Not sure what happened with my guest, and they haven't reached back out. So you know what? I'm here, you're here, so we'll just have a little talk. I was thinking when I was about 2 minutes to 7, I'm like, do I just say, you know what? No guest, no show? No. And the guest may be able to pop in and, so we're going to go and just wait and see what happens. But until then, yes, I have something to share with you. Lately I've been talking with people who have dealt with various fears. So while we're waiting to see, hopefully the guest will pop in, I kind of wanted to talk about fear. Now, fear is something people don't want to admit. And the first thing you have to do if you have fear of any kind, it's yours, it's your fear, own it, name it, claim it. Now, I'm a big believer in when you have even the negative feelings, you should own them, because if it's mine and I own it, and I've said this before, then I can control it. I can control what happens to it. I can do something with it. So when we think about fear, do you have any fears? Some people feel they're way too spiritual to have any fears. And they're too strong to have any fears. But man, a lot of people have fears. And the fears, some people fear failure. Some people fear success. And that might sound a little strange. How in the world do you fear success? Some people fear, what will people think about me if I am successful? If I do X, Y, Z and I achieve this, then how will other people see it? So they can have fear on so many different levels. So let's just look what might cause fear. And as I said, tonight I'm winging it because there were some technical issues with my guest, and my guest was unable to log in. And we will have her back. She's an amazing person and has an amazing project that I would love for everyone to be aware of. But I'm not sure what's going on, so we move on. So let's, as I said, we're just going to kind of look at fear tonight because fear is so real. Fear is crippling. People can get caught up in life. So let's think about that. We fear, as I said, fear of success, for fear of failure. I want to talk a minute about the fear of success because people are like, how do you fear success? Sometimes people have self doubt that they're not even in touch with. It's like, I'm just not sure I'm good enough. And when you're caught in the moment of not feeling good enough, you might fear that the success that you're going to achieve you don't deserve. Or as I said earlier, you might feel like, well, what will think people think about me if I get this great job and I'm really successful, people will see me differently and I don't know if they're going to be able to accept it. Really? Fear of success is kind of fuel goes hand in hand with self-sabotage. Something inside of you says you're not worthy of whatever it is. So that's where that fear can come in. Um, when we think just about fear, fear can be it can be real. There's something. This is a scary world. Looks like my guest was able to get on. So let me add her in. As I said, my guest was dealing with some technical issues and couldn't get on. And it looks like she's here. So we are going to go with my guest. Um, Hello, how are you, Boosie?
Greetings. I'm blessed. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Glad you were able to get on. I explained that there were just some technical glitches and you were not able to get on right away, but so I'm so
Yes.
glad you're here now.
Yeah, I was having some issues with my lighting.
Life happens. So we're glad you're here. And we'll do our norm. Tell us who you are, introduce yourself, and tell us something cool about yourself.
Oh, so my name is Boosie Peters Morn, and I'm originally from the Boogie Down Bronx, BX in the house. Um, this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop, birthplace of hip hop. Going on the 51st anniversary of hip hop. That is, I came to Houston straight out of high school to attend TSU and HBCU in the house as
Yay.
well. And went there when it was in vogue to go there. So it's a blessing and started me on my journey with life in so many ways. I'm educator. I'm also a citizen of the universe. I've been blessed to do quite extensive travel, and I'm the founder of a 501c3 called Woo, like to exhale, woo, whatever way you need to exhale. WHEW is an acronym for Women Healing and Empowering Women. And something cool about myself that most people don't know is that I sang in Carnegie Hall.
Wow, that is cool. Very cool. Wow.
Yes,
Tell us quickly, how were you singing in Carnegie Hall? That's like, ooh, amazing.
I was in junior high school, and it was through the borough-wide chorus. I was in the Bronx borough-wide chorus. All of the boroughs had a borough-wide chorus, and I was in the Bronx borough-wide. And we made an album. That's how I first learned of I. That's how I first learned about our national anthem of lift every voice and sing
Mm,
was through the Bronx borough-wide chorus, and we made an album with different gospels and all kinds of a lot of different traditional songs, and then we performed at Carnegie Hall.
amazing. Well, I have you here tonight to talk about the Beah Ripple Sexual Healing and Grief Ritual. Whew, a long name, and it's an amazing program. So, first, before you get into details, just what is the Beah Ripple? How did you even get that name? And it's spelled differently. So tell us, what is Beah Ripple?
Well, actually, it's called the Beer Ripple Movement. It's the Beer Ripple Movement, and the Beer Ripple Grief Ritual is a component of the movement. And Beer is spelled Beah, and it's in honor of this ancestor who is the inspiration that drives the work. Her full name is Beah Richards, so we use her first name Beah, pronounced Beah. So it's a double entendre that we use her name and along with Ripple. And Beah Richards is an ancestor who was an actress, a activist, a poet, and so many other things. And she wrote this poem in 1951 titled "A Black Woman Speaks of White Womanhood, White Supremacy, and Peace." In the poem, she leaves no stone unturned,
Mm-hmm.
where she has a conversation with European descent women and their role in the captivity of our ancestors and so many other challenges that we go through as a people, from women to women. Was this poem, and she leaves no stone unturned, addressing all the different ways and levels and ways that European women have chosen to be pawns to their men. And despite the fact she wrote this poem in 1951, she deals with the historical factors, and it relates to this day right today. So if anyone was to hear the poem, they would think that she
Mm-hmm.
wrote that poem 3 months from today.
Right. Yesterday.
Like I said, 3 months from today, because
Right.
that's how relevant it
Mm-hmm.
is, unfortunately. And so, Woo Women Healing Empowering Women is an arts healing 501c3. We are a reentry program that uses the arts to shine a light on the issues that we're advocating on behalf of. For those in the audience who are not aware that the term reentry or what it means, reentry is a term that is used for people who are formerly incarcerated and reentering
Mm-hmm.
society. So we are focusing in on melanin dominant indigenous women who have been outpacing our men going to prison for many years now, over 30 years, this has been the case. Most people in our communities and societies are not aware of that. We're so busy focusing
Mm-hmm.
on men. We don't realize how much our women are going to prison. And as women, most women are mothers. So when you have women going to prison, then you're talking about affecting nation building. Woo, our mantra is based on this African proverb, the stage when you educate a man, you educate an individual. When you educate a woman, you educate a nation. So it's really challenging when you have our nation builders in prison and then their babies are going into foster care.
So,
So
what kind of things are you doing with the women? And we will get to the healing ritual as well. But what kind of things are you doing with the reentry program? What are some of the things you guys do?
we have town halls, we have conferences, we have workshops, we have movements, we have many different ways in which we are educating women and communities about these issues. Women, their families, men, children. We address, our whole community, and it's an international organization. Although we are first shining a light because that charity begins at home. So because Houston is my second home, and I did undergrad and graduate school here, and so much of who I became as a grown woman was here in
Mm-hmm.
Houston. And so I chose to start the organization here in Houston, coming here to go to TSU. Third Ward was initially my home. I'm married with 2 children, and when I got married and started my family, we moved to the Sunnyside area of Houston, the historical melanin dominant community, just like Third Ward is a historical melanin dominant community. Third Ward is the Mecca, it's like the Harlem of Houston to me. And both of these areas of Houston is rich with history and culture,
Mm-hmm.
yet there's also a lot of challenges when it comes to recidivism rates and domestic violence and unhoused. So our organization not only shines a light and addresses the issues around women who are formerly incarcerated, we also are addressing the issue around being unhoused and domestic violence with a focus on molestation, rape, and incest, which is at the root of women in prison.
That is true. When you look at the number of women, the majority of women in prison are there as it relates to something with a man in a negative way.
Yeah.
Either they may be victims, so often the victim of abuse, the woman, may end up in jail for her actions, or she may be there because she was a pawn for this man. But so many reasons women will end up incarcerated um, because of their entanglement with a male.
Yeah, but and that entanglement often starts before that time because
Hmm.
what led to them being in that unhealthy relationship with that man. So one of our
Hmm.
workshops, our signature workshops, is called the Connect the Dots workshop, in which we connect the dots about how everything is connected to why we are who we are. Where does it begin? When you see someone in an unhealthy relationship or making unhealthy choices that leads them to prison or in an abusive
Hmm.
relationship or unhoused. What caused that? What are some of the factors that caused that? So we have to first look at the fact that this country was built off of the sexual abuse of our ancestors. The first sex and labor trafficking ring was the Middle Passage. For
Yes,
those in the viewing audience who do not know what the Middle Passage is or never heard of it, because there are a lot of people who never even heard of the Middle Passage.
it's true.
Let's educate them on that. The Middle Passage is a term that's used for the route and the method in which this government used to kidnap our ancestors from Africa and brought them, and the route that they took them to the Americas, to Central and South and the Caribbean and to North America. They dropped bodies off in all these different
Hmm.
places. This is the reason why Brazil has the largest number of people of African descent than any place in the world outside of Africa. People often when they think about Africans in the diaspora, such as
Hmm.
ourselves, they want to keep shining a light on the United States. Brazil has
Right.
the most,
The Brazil
right?
had, yes.
It has the most. And so that they dropped us off all along this route and all along the way from the time that they kidnapped us and had us in these dungeons before they put us on the ship and brought us over in this most horrific way, such a inhumane way, where we
Yes.
were piled up on each other. Sardines were packed better, where we were defecating and urinating on each other, chained together for months at the bottom of a ship and raped. They raped all of us. They raped the men, they raped the women, they raped the boys, they raped the girls. No one was exempt from being raped. And upon coming to the Americas, the rape went on. Oftentimes, by the time the women got here, they were either pregnant or had a baby on their arms from the voyage of being
Hmm.
raped in Africa before even being brought over, right? So we have to realize why this country is such a rape culture. It is a rape culture. It was built off of a rape culture. April is Sexual Assaults Awareness Month. April is also Poetry Appreciation Month. And
Hmm.
April is also Earth Day. The Beer Ripple movement embodies all three of these observances.
And how do
And
you do that? How do you intertwine those three?
so the way it's intertwined is that we start off first in August. It's a 9 month movement. It's 9 months because we want to give the 9 months enough time to educate the historical issues, like what I just shared, for instance. We
Hmm.
start with first showing the poem, and we get symbolically pregnant with the poem. We invite women of all different ethnicities, of different socioeconomic background, of different spiritual faiths, different sexual orientations to take part in this movement using this poem. Because despite the fact that the poem is titled Black Woman Speaks to White Womanhood, White Supremacy and Peace, it is an awesome way to have a conversation with all women of
Yes.
all ethnicities that are have been affected by this historical factor of colonization, captivity, and the ways that sex has been used as a weapon. It's been weaponized as a war strategy.
It still
Colonization is a
is.
war strategy.
So this, you say this is a 9 month program.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in this? So women become a part of this movement in
Right.
August, so
Right.
that the birth can happen in April. But in this 9 months, how often do they meet? What does this program or this movement entail?
So they meet twice a month via virtual for the first 8 months. We then incorporate girls in January where they have their own safe space and they have their own facilitators. Our facilitators for the women are referenced as doulas and midwives. The women that take place in this movement are called mothers to be. And the virtual meetings twice a month are referenced as prenatal checkups. In between the times that we meet twice a month, we have readings that we need to do. There's books, there are videos, there are films, documentaries to watch. And we reference that as the prenatal vitamins. So for people to get educated about the historic issues that connect to why we're in the predicament we're in today, so that we can shine a light on the solutions, because we're not here to just be bogged down on the problems. We
Yes.
want to understand the problems and to know that once you understand what the problem is and where it stems from, then we can work on resolve and solutions and healing and empowering. So
Now,
we
you
can,
mentioned in the beginning working with women who were coming formerly incarcerated. Are they as well a part of this program, or how
yes.
do women become a part? You say this is women of all socioeconomic background and ethnicities. How do women become a part of this program movement?
Well, we put out a call to action. We invite folks and share about what we're doing and invite people to join the Beah Ripple through our social media, through word of mouth, and through our website.
How many people are typically involved? In per session per 9 month.
It's normally at least like 20 folks that are involved in terms of the adults, and that start off. And it normally starts off strong, but by April, which is, and we start in August so that we can birth in April. And
Mm-hmm.
it's 9 months because, as I stated, not only to give us time to do the research and to peel the onion, to get to the core of the issues. It's also for the purpose of honoring the birth process,
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
help women to realize that they have to go through and be willing to go through all the stages that a person goes through to birth, that a woman goes through to birth. Right. So starting off with, for those of us who are mothers, we had to first and foremost agree to the idea of I may lose my life, bringing life in. We have to come to grips with that and be willing to do that.
And especially as African American women in America.
Yeah, exactly. But there's women of all ethnicities that have transitioned, attempted to
In
give birth.
childbirth, yes.
Like you stated, unfortunately, because of racism in this
Mm-hmm.
country, the way our women are treated, we are disproportionately transitioning,
Mm-hmm.
despite the resources that we have in a called industrialized nation. And so, because I don't like those terminologies of first world, third world, like get up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I
You're
don't
right.
I don't use that kind of. So those are some of the things that we address during the 9 months. We address all the different ways that we have been conditioned and brainwashed to value one group of people over other groups of people. And etymology is one of the ways that we have been tricked through psychological word warfare of how we see ourselves and the way we see each
Mm-hmm.
other, such as using words like minority. I tell people all the time, and through our movement, we teach people we don't use that
Mm-hmm.
language. Either we minor or we matter. And when we use language that does not empower us, that
Yes.
psychologically, subconsciously plants a seed of internalized hatred or
Mm-hmm.
low self-esteem, lack of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and inferiority complexes, that is one of the ways that it happens is through word sound. So
Yes.
there's many different ways and many different things that we explore during the 9 months to help women and youth realize why we have the challenges that we have in our families, in our communities, and the governmental issues, the community and family and individual issues, and then the importance of knowing that despite these challenges that exist, we have the power within ourselves to rise above it. That we have experiences, but those experiences do not define us. They're
Yes.
just experiences for us to get lessons, and that we can move through it. It's a choice, and we have to make the choice to birth the world we want to live in. And that's why we use the analogy of birthing and why it takes place for 9 months.
And that is powerful. And it is. And when I hear it, I also think that that person is birthing a new self. You know, if you go through this process, and this is just my take on it, that they're also going to be new or renewed from this process. The education you're going to see, and the sisterhood you're going to bond by those who are there with you. You should come out a different person, a new person, a renewed person, hopefully better for the experience. So what, last question, what does a person, what would you hope they gain, and what are some things people have said, you know, that how it has impacted
The
them?
testimonies. Well, before I go on to that, I also want to explain that in the 8th month, we invite men for the sacred
Hmm.
masculine to be a part of this work, because again, we're using the symbolism of giving birth. Well, babies
Hmm.
don't come without a sperm. And babies
Right.
don't come without you getting naked. You got to be willing to get naked. You got to be willing to go through pain. You got to be willing to feel awkward and feel all the different challenges and stages a woman goes
Hmm.
through the birth, because babies don't come with clothes on, right? So
Right.
these are all the things that one has to go through. And in the testimonies, that is what women have testified. Like they didn't realize how much inner work that they needed to do. They never
Hmm.
thought about how the historical issues affect who we are today. A lot of them don't even know the historical issues. Many people, there are so many people that are listening to this exchange right now that had no idea that there were sex farms, that there were breeding
Right.
farms, that
Breeding
there were
forms.
people
Yes,
in our
certainly.
lineage who were given a job to only breed. That's instead of going to
Mhm.
pick. There were some people picking cotton, some folks working in the house, the house work and the field work. And then you had some folk whose work was only to make babies. Women who were
Mhm.
there only to produce babies, and men only. There are men who've produced
Mhm.
hundreds of babies. So then we have to think about, well, when you have a woman who has several babies by one man, or one man who has several babies by a bunch of women,
That's every woman.
where do
Yes.
we get this from? And we're not people who are just loose and have no morals or ethics or values. It is because it's a condition and it happened for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
So what has come out of the testimonies is that folks have realized that they are making choices in their lives because of some of the fallout of colonization and how it affected their families today. When we read or learn about the historical issues, it's as though it happened so long ago. When we confront our government and people of European descent about the injustices, they tell us, "I'll get over it. That was so long ago." That is not true. It
No,
wasn't
it's
so
in your DNA.
and not only that, but the same way that they build generational wealth and they're living off that blood money right now, we unfortunately are dealing with generational poverty that
Yes.
stems from hundreds of years of
Mhm.
our ancestors working and not being compensated for all their intellectual property,
Mhm.
all the inventions, all the different from the golf tee to the refrigerator to the elevator to the third rail to
Mhm.
traffic light to the mop to the broom to the vacuum. Like we could go on and on and on.
Mhm.
Limit in the light bulb.
Mhm.
Uh, there is so much and so much of our information that continues to be stolen.
Yes.
And so when we realize these things, it helps us to know how to move forward and to realize what happened and to know that we can shift and change those things. We don't have to stay stuck there. And that we have a right to come together collectively and demand for repair and demand for our reparations and
Mhm.
to demand for recognition for the things that we have contributed on a global level, starting with being the mothers and fathers of the human race. This produces this. This doesn't produce this. There's only one race. It's the human race. And so we have to be mindful of the language that we use and
Yes.
not use words like, again, minority. I moved away from using terms like black and white as well because it's a construct. It doesn't
Those are
exist.
social, they're definitely social constructs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, these are the things that we talked about, the importance of word sound and manifesting and emerging the things that we want to in our lives through our thoughts, through our words, and through our action, and using the arts to do that. The importance of movement and dance, using puppetry, using masks, using all different forms, using play, using so many different creative expressions to help us work through the trauma that happened in our families, the incest, molestation, rape, verbal abuse, mental emotional abuse that was taught through captivity. And we did not do our rituals of our ancestors to address these issues. And we're not only addressing how we have been raped, we are also in this movement to address that the earth has been raped and continues to be
Yes.
raped. So on the
Hmm.
22nd of this month is Earth Day. And that is the reason why the 2-day birthing is always right next to Earth Day. We try to make the dates as close to Earth Day or on
Hmm.
Earth Day as possible. So when we first started this work, the first year we did it, Earth Day was on a Saturday. Last year was on a Sunday. This year will be on a Monday. So we will always do our 2-day birthing to be as close to Earth Day as possible
Right.
so that we can shine a light on the fact that as we work on healing our bodies from the exploitation and rape, we have to remember to also heal Mother Earth and do rituals to honor her because she is showing us how upset and angry she is. Because one day I pray that by doing this work, we won't be the next dinosaurs.
Right. And at the rate we're going, yes, the way we are destroying the earth and don't have an appreciation for it. We are out of time. But I'm so glad that you persevered and got on. I was like, okay, I'll have a topic in the back of my mind to talk on, but if she
Yes,
comes, I'll stop. And I'm glad you did. And it just shows in life we don't have to be bound by, oh, something's not right. We go with the flow.
absolutely.
And you were here when you needed to be here. And I thank you for being here. We always like to end with a call to action. And that call to action is, what do you need to do as a result of what you heard? And your website, I believe, is whewnow.org. And I
Correct.
wanted to spell it out,
Yes.
whewnow.org. Now, .org. And if you'd like more information, you can go to her website. But
Yes.
I look at this.
And be prepared to come to the events. We have the Beah Ripple exhibition, arts exhibition that relates to this work that we're doing, and we had the artist talk with the artists who contributed their artwork last Friday at Journey HTX, which is off of Alameda, Genoa. The exact address, if you would like to learn more about that, the flyers are on our website. And on the 2-day birthday will take place on the 20th and the 21st. We're having our next gathering for the Beah Ripple movement this Saturday. Come out and join us between 3 and 6 p.m. as we continue to do this work of educating people about these issues and using the arts to do it, to the movements and what have you, to celebrate our sexuality, because we don't want to just stay stuck in the idea around the pain of the rape. We want to get over to the other side of the healing of celebration, because orgasms and sex is spiritual, it's sacred, it's wonderful. That's the way babies come into the world, right? So we're inviting you as a call to action to come out to our events. The next few events, which is this Saturday at Journey HCX, and then next Saturday, Sunday on the 20th and the 21st, where we have our 2-day birthday that takes place in the morning in Galveston at Jesse McGuire Dent. And then we come back to Houston, back at Journey HTX. And then on Sunday, we have our Beah brunch. We're raising money to build houses, for transitional houses for women off the grid, again, to honor the earth and to be in compliance with Earth Day. And so you want to help us build houses for women who are formerly incarcerated, dealing with domestic violence and being unhoused. Please come and support the Beah Ripple brunch. And then we are ending it with our closing talk with the artists and an interpretive performance of the women who took part in the Beah Ripple movement for the 9 months, and also to people in the community who want to come out and honor the work that we're doing and do a performance and honor that too. They're more than welcome to come out.
So those of you that are in Houston or will be in Houston that weekend, go to the website and you can get specific addresses, and you can definitely support this movement. It's a powerful movement. You know, it's about education and learning, and it's something we all need to know more about our history. Understanding our past helps us understand who we are. And I always end with vote, vote, vote. This week in Arizona, they decided to uphold a law from the 1800s. If that sets a precedent, and I'm just going to end with this, think of what was in place for us, people of color, in the 1800s. If you can begin to roll laws back to that, that's just not a good thing. So I always say vote, 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 and be an educated voter. I am Bronwyn Lucas, the Black Couch Therapist, here to help you become a better you. And thank you once again, Boosie, for joining us today.
Thank you. And thank you for being a ripple of change. We're all ripples, and we have to choose what kind of ripple we're going to be. And thank you for being a ripple of positivity and change as we make a big wave and a big splash of love and kindness and prosperity and all the wonderful things that we deserve.
Thank you, my ripple sister. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Have a blessed one.